Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, can I talk?
Can can I talk? Am I allowed to speak?
Must I speak?
Am I allowed to speak about video games today?
Must decide this.
So,
Alright.
we've got some Bethesda stuff today for everyone here.
Indeed. Well,
Today we're
Bethesda dash no, Bethesda dash
Microsoft
Xbox their
you know,
things.
the combination of companies going on.
Yep. Aren't acquisitions fun?
Yes. But yeah, no, we're talking about Starfield today.
Yes, Starfield is still blowing up the news, so we thought we'd do a more in-depth dive of it. We talked about the whole business about what happened at the Game Awards with the big Xbox reveal last week, but we decided to be more in depth with Starfield today because we were like, okay, it was shown off, yada yada, but we didn't really get a chance to go real into it because time restraints and all that.
Yeah, we were talking about a bunch of
Yeah.
other games at the time, so we wanted to get like as many of the games in there as possible.
Yeah. And I still ended up missing some, so what does that tell you?
Oh, we got the big names. The big names were the ones that you really wanted to get in. But
Yeah, true,
for today, we're doing a bit of an in-depth into Starfield specifically.
Indeed, Starfield. It is interesting. I mean,
Yes.
everyone's like, it is No Man's Sky and Fallout in space, so everyone's like,
Yeah,
no.
yeah.
I mean, No Man's Sky is
Yeah. Starfield, like the history of Starfield, was actually something that was kind of starting early development, all the way back when Fallout 4 was being worked on, and even when Fallout 4 was released. Some of the aspects of Fallout 4, like building settlements and stuff, were something that Bethesda wanted to get into Starfield. And for the time when Fallout 4 came out, it was very like innovative in a way, because it's like, create your own stuff. It's like, this isn't a Minecraft thing. This is, oh, I'm in this universe where I've never had this ability before to do this, and now I can do this. So,
and nobody used it, so
well,
I mean,
no,
shows you how successful that was.
people used it, but main people who used it were either wanting to go get money or were playing like a survival mode. So
Yeah.
that's mainly the people who are playing with the settlement buildings. That and the people who have mods, which obviously with mods makes everything more interesting and wacky.
Hypothetically, at least, some mods will just break.
So,
the game
some mods are literally designed to just botch your system for some reason, but it does that. But
yeah, mods will make things more interesting until your computer stops working. Then it's not, no.
Until you turn it into a outwards microwave.
Yeah.
But
The Outer Worlds Microwave Edition.
But yeah, no, Starfield's been something that Bethesda's been working on for quite some time now, and we've gotten like official video of the actual game kind of in action. Some of the stuff that's kind of going to be happening, ship wise, building wise, kind of like running around, weapon play, gameplay. So, what are your early thoughts on it? I'll let you start.
Because we already talked about his thoughts before the stream. That'll be interesting.
Yes.
But I mean, again, it's we can make this more of a back and forth. I mean, the truth is that I think it's interesting. It's ambitious. I'll give it that much. It's certainly ambitious, especially for the scope that they're trying to do here. And if it were just not Activision, God, if it were Activision doing this, that'd be problematic. But we already seen what that happens. If it were just, oh my goodness, I can't. Why does the name now escape me? If it were just Bethesda, there we go. The name escaped me for some bloody reason. If it were just Bethesda making this, I would be concerned. But we have now Microsoft in the mix, so that might mediate some of their, shall we say, worse intentions for what they might end up doing with this game.
Yeah, they might.
It has the money of Activision.
It'll have a fresh set of eyes going and kind of making sure everything is smooth and works with one another.
Plus, they have Microsoft's money now, so they can be far more ambitious in what you're doing. If you have a lot more funding, you can be a lot more ambitious, and it's very clear Microsoft wants us to succeed. I mean, they did say this for the massive showstopper at the end, so clearly they know how much the hype is, and they're clearly banking on the success of this game.
So there's that.
But
They're obviously putting a lot into it to make sure it goes well.
But again, it's like the idea looks good. The graphics certainly look enhanced from obviously things like Fallout 4 and stuff like that. Again, that might just be them making a more powerful engine from the Fallout 4 days, because we all know they still use a frickin' what's that engine called?
No. I was gonna say Blam, but no, I think that was the Halo engine.
No, it was it's the engine they use for all the Fallout games these days and everything else.
Yeah, no, actually, it's the Fallout 4 engine. Well, not the Fallout 4 engine, but the engine that was used in Fallout 3, New Vegas, and 4. Yeah.
Which, in some cases, I guess, if you're looking for a unique thing, fine. I mean, the engine, in a way, they're trying to be like, okay, you can do base building and stuff like that. And if they built that into the engine, then I guess so. But again, that was more of a recent retrofit edition. And they're just kind of keeping that and working with it. So you can clearly see the kind of base of the engine here. Though they have obviously updated all the textures and graphics for it. So, I don't know. I'm not interested in the whole creation aspect. I've recently been replaying Fallout 4 again. And, I mean, the creation aspect is interesting, but...
Yeah,
I wouldn't really put too much stock in it myself. I mean, the idea being like you can now create your own ship using that is an interesting way to actually give people an incentive to use it, at least.
When it comes to Starfield, it's like you've got two different systems. You've got like one building system for a ship where there's different modules and whatnot. Well, I don't know what to really call it. I guess it's modules. I mean, I know for sure when it comes to building, you're definitely building modules where there's just a multitude, like the multitude of just different buildings and hallways that you can just kind of place. So in Fallout 4 terms, it's kind of like the Vault 88.
Prefab mostly.
Yeah, it's like the Vault 88 DLC where like you can build your own vault, but it's all pretty much just prefabs. You're not for the most part making your own walls and whatnot.
Like, which is nice because then it's less micromanagement you have to do. Because
it's a lot more easier to organize, and it's easier to go and clip and kind of place everything alongside one another. It's not like every building in Fallout 4 kind of clips and connects to one another, kind of like a Lego.
Kind of like magnets.
But when it came to building like with the vault prefabs and stuff, it's a lot easier and more organized because you can place it on top and underneath one another, like with much more organized precision than you would otherwise.
I mean, one of the comparisons we see in this game is that they're trying to like do No Man's Sky Fallout Edition, which necessarily isn't a bad thing. I mean, No Man's Sky nowadays is quite a fun game. And there's quite a lot you can do with that. I mean, you can even kind of see like the kind of terrain gun that they have in kind of No Man's Sky for anyone who's played it. There's like a little gun you have that allows you to like drill into planets and harvest resources. You can even see a gun of that kind of nature being used in Starfield. So the comparisons are pretty clear what they're trying to draw on here. And if they can do older No Man's Sky and not vanilla No Man's Sky, then that'll be good. I mean, No Man's Sky, like I said, now is actually not a bad game and is quite a fun kind of survival game if you're into the whole space survival shtick.
So,
but again, there's the whole creation thing there too, and like I said before, the whole idea of creating your own ship does at least give players the incentive to actually interact with this whole system, to be like, okay, if I can make a better ship, I can deal more damage, thus I can be more effective, and not just like in Fallout 4 where it's like, okay, I can manage settlements, but that really doesn't do anything for me. I
mean, in Fallout 4 you can manage settlements, but you can manage them to go and like You can have one go and get you like a whole bunch of random scrap and whatnot that you'll need to craft new mods for your weapons and armor. You can have
That's
one that just
true.
focuses on producing a bunch of food and water that you can go and sell other places that can go and generate you money. Like it
It's not entirely useless, mind you.
no,
Yeah,
it's
you're right.
not. Like default settlements is kind of just along the lines of, okay, let me just make sure these guys have food, a place to sleep, a little bit of defense. All right, bye.
Y-
But
Um,
the more time and effort you put into a settlement, the more it will start to generate back for you over time.
that is true, but you
Yeah.
know.
It's one of those things where it's like it's an investment type of thing. It's like sure you could do that, or I could just keep running around the world and just gather like whatnot as I go.
Yeah, honestly, that's
So
kind of my opinion,
it's
personally.
just like one of those two roads. Like there's like I've seen a lot of people like they'll go and work on like maybe just one settlement, and they'll just focus just on that one, so that way when they do a bunch of just random running around, they'll just get a bunch of extra stuff on top of it.
Yeah, like I kind of do that with the Sanctuary Settlement in Fallout 4. I kind of focus primarily on that. Maybe I'll work on the other ones
I
occasionally.
mean,
Like
I
Mass
will.
Effect. Eh.
Quick side note to any Fallout 4 players as well as you: if you want one settlement that's the best settlement to work on, Spectacle Island. It's just right beside the castle. It's that little island right by the castle.
Mm.
It's the largest settlement workspace that you can use. So
Mm.
it's very open with like what you want to build and whatnot. So like if you wanted to build like a second castle type of thing, you could do that.
Yeah, no, that's true.
But so going to the whole point of being able to craft your own ships and settlement structure things, and the fact that you can go and in a way hire people and get kind of companions in Starfield that'll stay at one of these settlements and do stuff for you. um, that goes to a point a lot of players, and especially for Fallout 4 and even 76, is the whole mechanic of running around looting and gathering in order to do more running around and looting and gathering. The type of loop that has been created with at least those two games specifically, which is I gotta do a lot of running around and gathering to go and make a little bit of progress in order to go and do more running around and gathering. And a lot of people have talked about that might be an aspect that's put into Starfield where you're constantly for the majority of the game actually just running around trying to get the materials and whatnot you need to make the base or make the ship that you want, and you're spending more time on that rather than actual stories and quests and whatnot, like gameplay aspects of story that you might also want to get yourself into. So
That's the,
the amount of story that you might be wanting to experience isn't going to be the amount of time you're actually putting into the game. It's like maybe 20% of the time you're actually playing the game that you're actually getting the story and whatnot that you want to experience.
that's the thing. From the looks of it, there isn't a like interesting story to follow, right? And the
Mm.
whole shtick is that like there's a big difference between Fallout 70, like not Fallout 76, but just Fallout in general, like the tone of a Fallout game and the tone of Starfield. In the
Mm-hmm.
tone of Fallout, you're a survivor. You're out for yourself for the most part. You're trying to, just survive in this world. Which, yeah, it's kind of the shtick in Starfield. But in Starfield, you're literally a adventurer. You're essentially a astronaut that they're sending out as an advanced scout and be like, here, go find this thing. Which, yeah, kind of is like what you are in Fallout as a survivor. But again, in Fallout, it's like, I've got a survivor with limited resources, whereas in there, you're like, okay, if I don't find them here, I'll just planet hop there, or planet hop there, planet hop there. I'll find it eventually.
Yeah, like one of the biggest aspects when comparing like Fallout to Starfield right away is the fact that Starfield is going to be much more open, like open in the sense of not only its world and its scale, but open in the sense of a lot of things are going to be much further apart. Like in Fallout, like in every Fallout game, even like the early first Fallout and the second Fallout, almost every facet of the world, even the parts that are just random, like chance of happening to you, always had at least some tidbits of story on like what's going on here. Like you see the aftermath of like some kind of event, like maybe an attack, or the aftermath of like some kind of storm or disaster, or even like, okay, what are the remnants of this settlement that maybe everyone just gave up on because they weren't getting enough money or something, so they had to move on, or the crops weren't growing because they weren't like taking to the ground or something. Like
Mm-hmm.
every aspect of each game, no matter where you go, at least has a little bit of story, a little bit of something going on in the, not only the environment but also what is probably actively trying to kill you. Like
Mostly.
in like the one location that I'm at right now, I'm right beside Diamond City, and Diamond City has a lot going on, not only inside but also around it as well, with a bunch of like these small little groups that are trying to attack the city. Like you got a few raider camps, you got a super mutant camp, and you can
Etc.
see, yeah, like you can see like each group is kind of building their own defenses and set up and whatnot in order to defend themselves against the other. Like sure, Diamond City's the biggest one and it's got a whole bunch of defenses, but you can look at one of the raider camps and you can see like where they've been set up to eat and sleep, and all their other facets besides just, oh yeah, we're raiders, we're gonna get you at some point, but probably not because you're like really well defended. Like it doesn't feel like that's going to be something that'll be happening in Starfield. Like, I'll be willing to bet you'll probably run into a fair amount of just like random, maybe bandit or pirate camps and whatnot, like you do in the trailer, where you kind of like run around and it's more along the lines
Well,
of
you
a type
see,
of
like,
dungeon.
well, for example, you see like one instance where you're sent to an outpost, a research station, but it's
Mm-hmm.
ended up being attacked by pirates. So you kind of see the aftermath of what the heck they were doing there.
Yeah, like I'll
And
be
so the
willing.
logic is
I'll
you
be.
might end up being
I'll,
sent to stations like that.
yeah, no, like I'll be certainly willing to bet like anything revolving around like story and quests and even side quests probably will have a fair amount of story around it as well as for it. So like it'll have probably a good amount of like environmental storytelling for all the locations that you do go to when you get sent to a place. But
Mm.
like in some of the like the small camps that I'm going to right now around Diamond City, none of them have like anything to do with any quest. Like unless you're using a mod, which some mods will go and have you go here to go and maybe pick up an item or something. Or maybe if you're lucky with like one of the very random fetch quests that you might get with the Brotherhood, where it is just go to one of these locations to go to a chest to pick up an item, you're not really gonna have much of a reason to go here besides, oh, I just want to get like a short, very short mini dungeon that'll kind of just, as all locations do, give a little bit of a background on what this kind of group in the world as a whole, in the game as a whole, has been doing. And I don't know. Like because of the
We'll
scale, yeah, like because of the scale Starfield is going to be, it's going to be hard to do that. Like you're not going to get the same amount of kind of Bethesda love, I guess you could say, um, to each location, because for the most part I would have to bet 90% of the game would actually have to be procedurally generated, because if you've seen like the full scale map of all the systems that you can go to, like that's a lot of systems. Like you don't only have like the Sol system, like our Earth system, but you've got
Which
like,
obviously is going to probably be much more purposely laid out, I imagine.
yes, yeah, I'll be willing to bet like the original our original world will probably be the most laid out, but you'll also have like Alpha Centauri, which is like the closest system to us, and a whole slew more of systems that are just further out all around in each direction. I don't know how many systems exactly Starfield is planned to have, but it at the moment is enough
Quite
to,
a few.
yeah, like if we're being generous, let's say like,
I think they were like mentioning thousands of systems, which is going to be interesting. Where it's like,
yeah,
okay,
like no, like let's start with a small scale. Like let's say we have just 5 systems each system has 10 planets. Okay, right off the bat, that's 50 worlds. That's like 10 planets per system, 5 systems, 50 planets. And if you want, you can add like 5 more stars to that, so that's 55.
Hmm.
Like, that builds up very quickly. And of course, it's not like each system isn't going to have like the same amount of planets and whatnot going on with it.
Yeah,
And
obviously, like a
some of the
capital world's gonna have a lot more.
yeah, Capital World might have more, or you might have some worlds where it's just like maybe like there's a few gas giants and you can't really do much there besides maybe go to a mining outpost that's nearby. But it builds
Remind
up very
yourself.
like it builds up very quickly when you think about it, because of the fact that okay, well, we're going from 5 to maybe 50 systems, and
Well, like,
if like
hmm
I don't know. It's just it's going to have to be procedurally generated, and I will say that I will bet like they will have many worlds like set up and pre-planned and designed in a specific way in order to go and like facilitate like the story and whatnot that they want to go for in the game.
yeah. Well, I mean, think about it, right? Like, the whole logic is deep space explorers. So,
Mm-hmm.
yes, we're gonna have a lot of systems, but not all those systems have to be immensely populated. That
No,
kind of
no,
gives
no,
them
no, no,
something to
no.
lean on,
Yeah,
where it's
like
like,
no matter.
closer to like capital like systems, they can be like, okay, we're gonna have this capital system pre-planned, this one, and a
Yeah.
little bit out, and then once they get far enough away, then we might start doing procedural generation and doing
Yeah,
random stuff
no,
like
like
that.
that I can that no matter what I can see happening, like no matter what, because I will not expect them to be able to design and create every single planet, because if they did, then that would
That'd
take
be
them
impressive,
like
but
it would no, it would be impressive. Like if they made like 100 systems and each system had like every planet like pre-made. Okay, that's
Mhm.
impressive. But that's going to take years and years and years. Like they like
they've been
depending
working on this
on
for quite a while, but
they yeah, well even then it would take even longer. Like sure, you'll have like all the baseline game, all the guns, all the weapons, all the armor, or like you'll have everything set up, but they would
Mhm.
still be working on the planets. They would still be like making the actual world, and just that would be the longest part. And sure,
Yeah.
it would show like an immense amount of dedication towards it all, but the game would probably never come out depending on how many worlds that they would want
We
to add.
we have a word for that. It's called Star Citizen.
But no, like no matter what, I can understand like the need for procedural generation, because you are going to need it for something like this. But the one thing that I will say about it is the fact that you're not gonna like it'll be fairly difficult unless like you really proof like I don't know what a good term for it would be, but unless
Mm.
like you really design your algorithm for procedurally generating worlds to be able to generate extra stuff on the planet, because I'd be willing to bet it's like okay, I'm like super far away from any capital world or anything, so I'm nowhere near any real settlements. I'm like mostly around a whole bunch of derelict worlds, but I'd be willing to bet like there would be like pirate outposts, or maybe even like a random like pirate semi world where like not all of the world is covered by pirates, but a fair amount of it. Like
Well, it depends on how deep, like to go into your point, like how deep into procedural generation do they want to go in this point? Like,
yes,
instead of like designing worlds, what they could do is design like cities and capitals and stuff like
yes,
that, and
and
then a
that's
procedural generation around that, and that
yeah,
would make
and
a little more sense
that's
in a
the
way.
type of procedural generation that I hope that they're going for.
I think
Is
that's what it
like
would be best, honestly.
yeah, like I hope that that's what they're gonna do, where it's like they did like they have a whole slew of random planets, like shapes and whatnot, and
Triangular planets, the
yeah,
darkest
well,
planet.
I mean, I think you're thinking of something specific, but but no, like it would be nice if like they have like it set up like that, where it's like okay, we designed the planet, we designed the system. It's like okay, what kind of star do we want to use? How many planets do we want? Okay, let's start going in all and work our way out. What kind of planets do we want? We want a gas giant here. We want a small rock moon here. We maybe want a bit of an oceanic world, maybe a habitable world here. Like I can see it like that, but it would also be nice if, like, as it goes down the list and it creates a planet, it also has a facet of, okay, do we want to make this like some kind of like hub location or for X group, or do we want to make this a trade location, or do we want to make this like a breach world? Like, going and down a list where it's like, okay, do we want to add some element of life to the world besides just maybe, okay,
Dead rock.
yeah, dead rock, or okay, yeah, this is a habitable world, but a habitable world that humanity hasn't even gone to yet. Like,
Or whatever the heck you find out amongst the stars.
yes.
I mean, we see a giant mech bot. Like, I think that might be a mixture between a mech and a companion, which is both really cool and really interesting. It's just,
But
say
like,
hi to my mech. Say hi.
yeah, like that's gonna be something very specific, and I hope they do when it comes to making Starfield, is being able to like have so many aspects of the game like pre-generated in a way where, sure, you're just kind of wandering around and nothing here was pre-made, but there's a good chance that you might be wandering around and you'll come across like maybe some kind of group or something that is literally just doing their own thing. Like, you might find like some kind of just like on their own lonesome miners just kind of trying to make a quick buck going and doing their own thing, or maybe like some new settlers that are just wanting to not deal with any kind of government or anything, and they're just trying to go and make a life for themselves out on their own, like
Outer worlds of you.
yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. Yeah, like I hope that that's what they'll do, but the problem is like procedural generation is very, very tricky and can lead to so many bugs if you do not design it well enough to deal. Like, there's so many aspects that it's like, okay, well, let's generate a city. Where are we generating it? Oh, we're generating it inside of a mountain or under a bunch of water or something. Like,
Ocean City by accident. Whoops.
yeah, no, like that's the thing. It's like, for all
Great
you
map,
know,
sure.
it's like you might go like, if it's not designed well enough, you can end up having like a gas giant that goes and becomes like a trade hub, but then all of the buildings and whatnot are well underneath all of the gas. So it's like, oh yeah, no, you go to the planet, but everything there is now dead because it's all condensed under a bunch of like high amounts of, volumed gas and whatnot. So,
As much as I'd like a freaking Mos Espa or freaking Star Wars, I can't remember what the city's called. I think it's Mos Espa, though I might be misremembering the name of that gas city.
yeah,
The
no,
one that
I know what you're talking about for that world though.
Yeah, the second
But
one that
that
was
was
in the second
that
one.
that was the type of world that was like kind of hanging above the gas, where like it had a propulsion system to stay above the gas, and it was mining the gas and whatnot as well.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
well, not mining, but harvesting. But
Yeah, harvesting.
but like that's the thing. Like, it would, I kind of hope that they go and have like things set up in a way where it's like everything's under a chart. So it's like, for a gas world, it's like you could have maybe a aspect of like a few different mining stations, or maybe you can have like a type of habitable world on the actual gas giant, and then those things are only gas giant specific.
That would be interesting.
But it just comes down to like what they're going to be doing with it. It just,
Yeah, no.
we'll see. We'll have to see. But
Outside the idea of procedural generation, though,
yes.
on another topic, what do you think we would? It would be interesting to see if we would, like, considering like they said, you are gonna make things like a potential research stations for yourself, and you'll be able to customize your ship. Which I probably will just scrap the first one and just live in the ship, but that's just me.
I mean, it would be interesting if you could, like you can
I
make,
think you could.
like you can make your own hydroponics area in a ship. You can make your own, like, everything can pretty much be done on the actual ship. It's just, it's gonna
Mothership
take
just comes down. Massive ship just.
big circle alien ship.
You just land on a freaking mothership, the freaking like Independence Day or some shit. That
Oh
massive
God,
ship just comes down.
the size of New York City.
You're just literally like a little platform just comes out from the middle. It's just like, take me to your leader.
Yeah.
Honestly,
But
that's how you introduce yourself.
yeah, like
But
that'll have to come down to what you'll be allowed to do. I mean, I could see you being able to do that actually, like setting
I
up
mean,
things like hydroponic bays, maybe some kind of medical station to be able to generate medical supplies, maybe even like a manufacturing and research area. But I could also see it going and being set up in such a way where it's all limited in what you can do. So it's all like, sure, you can do this,
but you
but
can do better with base.
yeah, like it'll be much more like precise and efficient with an actual location that you can go to, rather than.
And then it makes, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it makes you kind of wonder, right? If you're going to be exploring, and there's this hint of like uncovering this alien technology of maybe this ancient civilization, you know, almost Forerunner-esque, makes you wonder if, well, obviously if there will be other civilizations, which I'm going to be betting yes. But it makes you kind of wonder then, will you be able to like discover like blueprints to like different kind of buildings for not only
Yeah,
your base,
like
potential parts for your ship that you can implement?
yeah,
Like
like
you go to this,
things like faction specific building plans for ships and different buildings, or maybe even like other
just random technology.
civilizations, like other species that you might find. Like maybe there were like species that once were spacefaring but are been wiped out by themselves or by humans or something, or other species that are actually just wandering around in the actual world that you can come across, but you don't interact with them too much because they're trying to do their own thing. Like
Kind of make like that one quest from frickin' Fallout 4 that I just kind of did, where you randomly go to this one building and you get brought in to like essentially finish this research project from before, from kind of that was done after the war for reasons that I won't get into. But essentially, you end up doing this research project to kind of get out of this little laboratory you get trapped in. But if you finish the actual project, you actually also get this very specific chest for power armor that they're working on, and you can kind of put it on your own power armor.
yeah,
So it makes you wonder if you might do stuff like that, where it's like you might uncover like a new ray gun that was lost to time, or you know, a building plan or a blueprint to a ship part that you can stick on your thing. You know, freaking death ray.
yeah. Like I'd be willing to bet that kind of thing would be probably put in the game, because they've done that with all the like every Fallout game specifically has done something like that, where there's some aspect of the game that is like you can find it, or you have to do something in order to unlock it, but you can gain access to it so long as like you've kind of in a way worked for it. So
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see.
yeah, like even like faction specific stuff alone, like I could see like one faction being very tech and creation based, where it's okay, we can produce a whole bunch of resources and supplies and whatnot for ourselves, but we're not very good in the whole defensive and offensive aspect. And then there's another faction that's very good with weaponry and armor that you can also be a part of, so you can kind of get an aspect of both worlds in a way.
Yeah, that'd be kind of interesting, and it'd be really kind of fun to see where that technology kind of goes. Be like, you know, here's this ancient advanced civilization that I kind of harvested a gun from, and or perhaps you know you join a faction because they played off the idea that there will be other factions you run into because you're exploring deep space, and you know other civilizations will probably have other political problems going on. You might be able to side with them and maybe kind of take some of their technology if you go higher up in the ranks, and you know.
Yeah.
So
So
it'll be interesting to see where that goes.
yeah, it would be.
I just want a giant mech robot companion.
Give me a Liberty Prime.
Liberty Prime, stick it on the ship.
Yes.
Honestly, in the freaking reveal, they've got like this giant mech bot that comes out of the ship and just is like, go there. And I think that bot is also on the cover art, so I imagine that'll be some kind of, you know, maybe like companion.
Maybe.
Early on companion. Maybe critical to the story, who knows? I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, I for like the whole spacefaring and all that, I'm willing to bet no matter what, there's going to be some kind of aspect of the game that you can kind of create or find robots that you can like kind of recruit, and you can specialize them into certain aspects. So it's like you find a robot that's really good for like maybe killing, and suddenly you want it to be good at planting and growing things or producing things for you instead of, you know, killing. Like I can see something like that happening.
Bobbin Commander, does this machine have a soul?
Yes.
But to those who get that reference, does this human have a soul?
But we cannot ignore the question. If it can dream, then it might have a soul.
And if it has a soul, kill it.
Yes. Brotherhood logic.
Honestly, the Brotherhood logic, if it has a soul, it must be purged.
Yes. And if the soul is tainted, then purge it faster.
Purge it faster.
But, yeah, no, like, that's some of the stuff that, that, to me, at the very least, is actually the main concern when I'm thinking about Starfield, is the procedural generation that is going to have to take place, because there's no feasible way they're going to be able to make the entire world themselves. So, what kind of impact is the procedural generation going to have on the gameplay and your kind of experience as a whole? Because no matter what, with procedural generation, you're not going to be able to experience, well, obviously the same thing other players experience, but you're not going to be able to experience all facets of the game at the same rate. Because a lot of aspects of the game would probably be put down to chance, where it's like some players might be able to get this kind of encounter and learn this about the story right away, while others might never have learned about that, or might learn it like really late into the game, and it's like, oh, okay, well, I know this now, but it doesn't matter because I've already done this. Like, you learn like some kind of little secret like code type of thing that this one group has, and so by knowing it you can go and like skip an entire fight with them. But because like the player who didn't learn the code is already beaten them and they're already wiped out, it's like, cool, I know the code now, but it doesn't matter because they're all gone. Like,
well, again, we will see where procedural generation goes in this, but you know what? You know what's interesting though? The UI. Why is the UI interesting? If you look at the way it's designed, it reminds me a lot of the UI you see in like the Alien movies and Alien Isolation. Like,
yeah.
Am I the only one getting that vibe?
Yeah.
Like, it looks so
it looks like it's trying a little too hard to be spacey in a way. Like,
I mean, I like the Alien series, so it kind of works for me. But it's kind of
like you can really see like you can really see it leaning into the whole space thing, and it's nice.
Yeah, it's nice, honestly, and it is an interesting kind of play on things. But it's like now I'm gonna always have to think in the back of my head as I land: am I gonna run into xenomorphs, and do I need to be concerned about that?
I mean, you
do I
never
need
know.
to be concerned about these?
There's a whole world.
Freaking alien crossover.
But
engineer alien crossover. I dare them to do that now.
Maybe.
Maybe.
But
that's concerning.
That's some of the stuff for Starfield specifically. Like, for me, main concerns is like
procedural generation.
Procedural generation is like my primary concern, and then a secondary concern is going to be like that looting aspect, because obviously there's going to be a gathering resources in order to produce things in order to proceed forward. It's just my concern is how impactful is that going to be, because if you look at Fallout 76, it is very brutal. Like, if you do not have a good hard system in order to get yourself resources, it takes you a very long time in order to get the amount of resources you need in order to do something you'd like to do. And
well, again, you have to remember the different tones and what you're going for. In the Fallout universe, you're a scavenger. In this, you're an explorer. That's two very different.
Yes,
tones.
But that depends on the type of setting that they're going for in Starfield. Yes, you're an explorer, but an explorer in what way? Are you exploring like just the universe, and you have this funding, or are you just some random guy who decided someday, okay, you know what? I just want to kind of explore the universe and see what it has to offer me. Like,
from the looks of it, I don't. Well, they didn't show us the early game, so it's not going to be hard to see
it's
what
hard
the early
to tell.
story is.
Yeah, it's hard to
but
tell.
But it looks like originally you're going to be like kind of independent, but in the end, you're going to be brought into this kind of maybe government secret group. And
I,
who knows if they'll have funding and they'll be like, we're trying to find this alien
I'd,
technology.
I'd be willing to bet it's kind of going to be a little bit along the lines like Fallout 4 in the way where you you kind of just start out, you're on your own, like you're literally doing everything by yourself. You got to figure out like how you're going to set yourself up on your own. And then somewhere down the line you're going to start working with a group or a couple groups, and then you find out, oh, we got like something we got to do, or we got to save the world, or we got to save the universe or something like that. I
From
could
the look,
I could
it's
see
gonna be you're
something
gonna be
like that.
one group, and then their whole shtick is that they want to save technology. So you kind of get put with them, but they're the explorer group, right? They're the kind of main faction you're a part of in a way.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like, as you explore, you join other factions and find this technology in the effort of saving the world. So the kind of, let's say, the kind of primary group that's the backdrop of the whole story. But there are other groups you can join as well that are just kind of side adjacent to the story.
Yeah.
That would be my guess of what's happening from what I can see in the trailer, as I'm literally rewatching it now for the sake of both clarity and to make sure I'm also, quoting it right.
Yes. So
Interesting.
there's that.
So we will see. What do you think of the weapons and the designs?
Ah, weapons. So
Because obviously, on a side note, I mean, how long have we been streaming for? That way we know.
41.
Okay, we'll touch on this, then we'll kind of wrap it up.
So yeah, so
What do you think of the design overall?
a quick. Well, before I do that, I'll make a quick note. So when it comes to like Fallout 3, then Fallout 4, then 76, each game has a few weapons that are similar to one another, but at the same time they have major differences. Like some of the designs and some of the sounds and damage and whatnot are different between each game. Like in Fallout 3, sure you could use a 10 millimeter and be able to go a fair bit into the game with it, but eventually you're going to need something new. Where in Fallout 4, you could take a 10 millimeter and even get to the end game with it, so long as you got the right mods that you worked for over time. So it's interesting in that sense, and obviously for Starfield, like all of the weapons are probably going to be very, very different than compared to what they are in Fallout. I'd be willing to bet that there's going to be probably like different weapon types where you've got like a kinetic, you've got like some kind of fusion or energy based, and then maybe even different.
In Fallout, right? It's a mixture of like old world technology. It's kind of managed to survive, but it's beaten and battered to hell.
Yes.
And then you've got stuff that looks like it's been thrown together. In this case, it'll not be that in the slightest, because again, civilization is still going very well.
No. Quick side note, actually. For Fallout 4, the reason why you actually see pipe weapons is because pipe weapons were something that was actually being used before the war, before the bombs. It's a weird thing to think about, but actually in the lore it does go and tell you that pipe weapons were being used, which kind of makes sense because people make makeshift weapons even nowadays. So
yeah, no.
It makes sense, which makes me bring up a side point. I'd be willing to bet actually in Starfield people would probably make makeshift weapons. Like you might see a jerry-rigged like laser rifle or something, and maybe like by using it there's a percentage chance that it might fail where it just suddenly doesn't work, or it might even blow up. Like that would be that would actually be an interesting little thing to think about, where it's like I don't think it would be added in, because I mean if that was added in where it's like there's a chance that it might blow up while the player uses it, suddenly blows up. I mean that might be like if Starfield was being
a boss fight.
But no, like if Starfield was being made under the same facet like Fallout 1 and 2 were, where you can get a perk where it's like, yeah, this is a really nice perk, but it also goes and messes you up every chance that it can. It's like, yeah, like critical hits are very powerful, but if you get a critical failure, well, you're in trouble now. Like, it's interesting where I I kind of hope that kind of thing gets brought back into games, but it won't. Where it's like it won't be as punishing to the player as games used to be. Like I don't see something like you could get a jerry-rigged fusion or energy-based weapon. You keep talking. I'll be back.
The guy who ends the stream. I'll be back. Ugh. But again, it will certainly be interesting to see, as we can currently see. We've got a bunch of things that can go on. I'm interested to see the idea of machine weapons. Personally, I'm going to be running the idea that, as Justin said, we might see jerry-rig weapons in this world as well, though I'm guessing due to the kind of nature of the world being that there is still society going on, there are still people that are, massive civilizations running. My guess is that you're probably going to run into more machined, factoried, much cleaner, much more sleek weapons overall. You might run into like a machined weapon just as a weird exotic you get at the end of a certain mission, and it's a one of a kind piece because of its jerry rig nature. But mostly you're going to be running into machined, factoried, very sleek, very clean, industrial built, mass produced weaponry. So I don't think we're going to be running into too much of that. There are interesting research mechanics, there's stuff like that. Again, building your own ship, I really want to see how that works out. Maybe we'll be able to build our own weapons. I don't know. That'd be nice. That would be nice, building our own weapons, but...
You know.
Ah, you're back. Good.
Yes.
That would be nice, though, being able to build your own weapons.
Yeah.
We will see.
Well, no, I'd be willing to bet that manufacturing is going to be a part of the game where you manufacture things like ammo and fuel and whatnot like that.
I mean, you literally see, like, research stations and warnings.
And it makes...
like,
it makes sense. It's like, yeah, you got research stations. Well, you might as well
weaponry.
also have manufacturing stations as well.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. We'll have to see where it goes. I mean, Starfield...
I certainly like the look. It's a nice refresher and a much more cleaner look than, say, Fallout 4. But then again, these games are almost a decade apart, so
yes.
I'd hope they look better.
Yes. It'll really be interesting to see how the game turns out, because no matter what, we're kind of in that area of... We've got a bit of a Fallout 76. We got a bit of a Fallout 4. We got a bit of a
Star
Citizen, and even No Man's Sky going on. So
yeah.
It'll be very interesting to see how this all plays out in the long run.
They can do it well. That'll be really good. But
yeah,
major hype games have flopped before, so to speak.
So we'll see.
We will certainly see.
I mean, the game's coming out, what, this year?
No, next year. Early next year, I believe.
Okay, so
like
around...
first next year.
Yeah, around January to February, probably next year then.
That's my guess, I believe.
Yeah, so...
Though I'll have to recheck.
So, yeah, we'll see how it plays out then, by then. I mean, right now, development's obviously still not early, but... development's probably
it's in its
very
later
hard.
stages.
Yeah, development's probably really hard into progress right now. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah,
But,
they've got a story, they've got characters, they've got systems that they've built. Now it would just be a fact of fine-tuning, maybe adding in a few last-minute systems, maybe a few smaller things, maybe a few quests.
Yeah.
But most of the game is built by this point.
Yeah. Well, other than that, we'll hope. I'm kind of looking forward to this Starfield. I do hope that it does well, but then again, there's so many things that it's got to be designed
the Bethesda
very
glitches
nicely.
that could come out of this.
Well, a few people
just suddenly phase through planets.
People watching this probably saw a few as I was playing this game. One of them being, yes, let me kill this raider and turn him into a rocket ship. So, there's that. But I hope it goes well. It doesn't there's no like issues when it comes to the procedural generation, because that's the one aspect of the game that could really go poorly and just go sideways if any little thing goes wrong. So we'll have to just see how it goes. I mean, development's obviously still being heavily made right and like done right now, so we've still got time before everything comes out.
I mean, Procedural Generation has been getting a lot better in recent years. Again, No Man's Sky wasn't that bad, and they were an independent team. And of course, now between Bethesda having their own money and now they got Xbox money and their expertise in things, I imagine things will go far better by contrast. At least that would be my hope, considering all that's being factored in.
Yeah.
So it's getting a lot better in recent years. We will see though. But anyways, that's our opinions on Starfield.
Yes.
And okay, good. You stopped talking at such a weird time. Like,
yeah, no, I'm here. I'm here. Yes.
That's the problem when you have these long distance voice call conversations. It's
internet go interesting.
Internet go, and then you're kind of screwed. But anyways, yeah, that's our opinions on Starfield. We thought we'd take a more in-depth look, like I said, because we were kind of pressed for kind of getting everything out last stream, and it felt like, since it's a major game, major expected, it felt like something that should be kind of elaborated in more detail.
Yes.
Hopefully it doesn't share the fate of Cyberpunk, though in fairness, I still think Cyberpunk's a good game despite everything. It's just subject to a bad release. No, I had fun. Yes. It was just subject to a bad release and stuff like that, so.
There you go. All right. Well, hopefully we'll see you next week for some more news and information that we'll be divulging.
Yes, and as always, like, comment, subscribe. The usual YouTuber shtick, because I really want them subs.
Yes.
Gets us more popularity, gets us more views, gets us more, I don't know, screen time with other people. And who doesn't want to have
more
us
people to
everywhere?
view said content that which we create? Yes. Watch.
Consume. Honestly, yes. I hate the term consumerism. I hate the term. My professors in business use it all the time. No, they're not customers. They're consumers. Businesses are customers. Regular people are consumers. No, they're customers. It's just... Anyways.
Yes.
I could get off on a tangent here, but I'm not going to bend the ear of people unnecessarily. It's just... Anyways. And as always, good night.